What's up everyone, this is K Collections, who's excited for choosing your free SR servant. Lots to choose from, so for this video, I'll recommend in my perspective, the best 4-star within each class, instead of the usual top 5 or top 10 where there could be servants within the same class being recommended. This breakdown will focus on one each. I think that will be more beneficial, especially for those who are lacking strength in a specific class and may want some recommendations. Keep in mind, this is from my own personal experience. I own all these servants between my NA and JP accounts, so these recommendations are the servants I rely on the most. Now, just because I don't recommend a servant does not mean they aren't good. Also, if you want to go for a story-locked servant because they're technically limited, then go for it. Finally, choose a servant that you need. For example, if you require an AoE Berserker, but I recommend a single target one instead, go for the AoE. Starting off with the Saber class, Lancelot is still one of the best SR Sabers in the game. Now, Yagyu is equal to Lancelot in my opinion, being more effective as an MP spammer and deals way more MP damage compared to Lancelot, but what gives Lancelot a slight edge over Yagyu is the self-sufficient consistency he has. Yagyu's main weakness would be his downtimes, which takes momentum away unless you have support. Lancelot is far superior as a crit servant with strong consistency in generating stars from his skills, so you're not reliant on attacks for star gens. His downtimes are short as well, coming at 2 to 3 turns for his last 2 skills instead of Yagyu's 4 to 5 turns. Also, during the turns where Lancelot can't crit, his NP is ready and waiting, offering another form of high damage while his skills are on cooldown. So you have a consistent and reliable crit servant who can NP spam as well. For archers, Emiya is extremely versatile with all those strengthenings, especially his recent one which allows him to change his NP type. NA will have to wait quite a long time for this though, so that kind of sucks. If we remove the welfares, he deals the highest AoE damage when compared to the other 4-star archers, but his NP isn't just for damage. When set up with his Hawkeye skill which buffs star gen and crit damage, Emiya can be a burst star generator, setting himself up for next turn to deal crit damage. As I mentioned before, he'll be able to change his NP type to arts in the future, so this opens even more team setups. Tamamo or Caster Artoria will help him a lot, especially spamming his NP, or you can still have a double Merlin setup for damage. Emiya's versatility will benefit all players since he can fit within different card types. Moving on to Lancers, Parvati, besides being one of the best servants with the Skadi system, is a split between an attacker and supporter. She supports the team by providing stars when using her NP attack, along with charging your team's NP gauge. She's an attacker since Parvati can spam her NP quite well, and her damage is fairly good as an AoE. She's certainly not overpowered on her own, but when providing the right support, can be one of the best 4-star Lancers, when most of her main role, both as a damage dealer and supporter, comes from her NP attack, and being able to spam that attack, it makes her very reliable. For riders, Astofo isn't being recommended just for the memes. He is an effective rider. Sure, St. Martha and Marie has strengths that are more superior than Astofo, and let's be honest, his generation stats aren't that great. The reason why he's being recommended is because of his 50% NP charge. This alone is extremely helpful for farming, which means you'll typically use him a lot out of the other riders. He also deals higher NP damage out of the other two, and has good CE flexibility because of his NP battery. Not to mention, just one Skadi allows him to turn 1 NP with no starting charge, while being supported by her quick buffs. So in terms of abilities, it's not the flashiest, but its simplicity makes him a servant you'll use often, especially if you need a rider farmer. As for caster recommendations, it's a tough one since Gilgamesh is amazing and is my personal favorite character, and there's a lot of good casters in general to choose from. But I have to go with Helena. She's known as a substitute waiver, and that doesn't mean she's bad. She's being compared to one of the greatest 5-stars in the game, which says a lot. Even if you do have a waiver, Helena has always been my go-to buff and switch servant, thanks to her boost in arts quick and buster, while being able to charge 20% NP for everyone, and she has a mini 20-30 effect. She fits within all teams, making her one of the best 4-star supporters, even a top tier supporter in the game. She's not broken, don't get me wrong, but you'll use her a lot even if you have broken casters like Merlin and Waver, because she works with everyone regardless of type. In terms of damage, if you don't include the welfare casters, she has the highest AoE damage out of the 4 stars if her NP buff goes through. So not only is she a strong supporter, but she's a good farmer who again can charge 20% NP for everyone, helping your farming team in general. She's definitely not someone you'll use for long battles though. For assassins, I know there's lots of love for Carmilla, lots of fans, and I admit she would be the superior solo unit. But Wu has a combination of strong support and good damage. She even out-damages Carmilla when her NP upgrades next spring, even out-damaging Jack the Ripper, if the enemy isn't female of course, when you use all of Wu's skills, including Imperial Privilege, which involves chance. Aside from that, she provides a defense debuff and attack buff, increasing overall damage for your attackers. The team quick buff also helps with your other quick servants. You can even use her like Helena, being a buff and switch servant. Heracles is still the best survivor servant in the game. Ku is a strong second, not to mention Heracles will get a buff in 2 years. Obviously, he's not as strong without his bond CE, so it's going to take you a while to really leverage this servant, but once you do get it, he's a soloing monster. 4 lives plus an evade will give you 5 turns to solo a boss, which is why he's typically used last with any party or as a last resort. Passive damage like poison, burn, and curse will kill him though. That's his biggest weakness. Now, he's going to be even godlier post rank up 2 years from now thanks to his 3rd skill upgrade. It allows his guts skill to be stacked along with his bond guts, and when he dies, the guts from his skill will go out first, meaning if you time it right, which isn't that hard, Heracles can come back to life 5 times in a row. What's even more crazy is that he'll receive a 20% buster buff for 5 turns every time he comes back to life with guts. His bond guts also count, so every time he dies, Herc gets stronger to the point where he'll receive 5 buster buffs on top of his attack buff. Not to mention, he has an evade, and if you stall the enemy one more turn with a mystic code, then you can use his guts one last time, making it a total of 6 revivals. Heracles is honestly just on another level, but again, you will have to wait 2 years for his buff. Even without it, he's still very strong. Finally, we have the 2 Avengers. Honestly, it's comparing apples and oranges. They're so different, but I have to go with Lobo for more usability. You're not really going to farm with an Avenger. I mean, I'd rather use a Rosh or Spartacus for farming compared to Gorgon. Gorgon is not a good NP spammer and has no reliable way to absorb stars to be a crit servant. She will get a Buster Star absorption buff, but it's only for 1 turn on a 4 turn downtime, so not reliable, especially since she only has 2 busters. Lobo has his own issues, but you'll mainly use Avengers against rulers, in which case they are boss battles, making his single target more effective as damage. He's also more reliable as crit, since he's a quick servant and has a star absorption skill for all attacks, not just one type. So those are the top servants within each class. Again, there are other amazing servants, but generally these are the ones you'll use often. So who are you going to choose with your free SR ticket? For me, I'm split between Valkyrie and Tristan, but comment down below to let me know who you're picking. Special thanks to all my patrons and sponsors. If you want to support my channel, check out my Patreon or channel membership. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more Fates content. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and join my Discord server. All links are in the description. Have an awesome day, everyone. Till next time.